everybody, welcome back to the Web3 van. I'm out here in the desert. It's a beautiful, clear night. There's not a cloud in the sky. Got a nice little fire burning. So, yeah, things are great right now. And I figured what better time than now to talk to you about something that you've probably heard of and it might be keeping you out of getting involved in Web3, and that's scams. Even if you really don't know much about this space, I'm sure you've heard the news of millions of dollars being stolen. And maybe that scared you away. And some of you might think the entire space is a scam. But I want to take this opportunity to kind of start a new little series on breaking down some of these scams and talking about some famous examples of them. And then we're going to go into some of the things to watch out for so you can protect yourself in this world. And we're going to get started today with rug pulls. So let me paint the scenario for you. You're up late, just stumbling around on the internet, and all of a sudden you come across this brand new project that you do a little research, you get all hyped on it, and you decide you're going to pour some of your hard-earned crypto in and get in early before it blows up. You think it might be your ticket to change your life. And then you see it start taking off, you start getting all excited, and then boom.
Oh! Oh! It went to zero!
The rug pull. A rug pull is an increasingly common crypto scam being carried out, especially in NFT projects, but also with tokens. And it's basically where developers or creators of a project build a lot of hype around things that they're going to build, especially after they raise funding, get a lot of people to buy in and invest. And then once they have substantial investment, they take off running and abandon the project, leaving any of their early investors holding the bag. Chainalysis reports that rug pulls account for 37% of all crypto scams, taking a total of $2.8 billion from victims. The traditional token rug pull occurs when the developer team lists a scam token on a decentralized exchange, and then they back it with some Bitcoin and Ether, drive a bunch of hype around the project, maybe airdrop it in some famous people or some influencers' wallets. Really anything to make the token seem legit. Maybe they promise a bunch of stuff in the future. And then once a whole bunch of people start buying in and they start locking their ETH or Bitcoin in the liquidity pool so that they can receive some of this scam token that they don't really know is a scam, as it starts driving the price up and more collateral starts getting locked in that liquidity pool, the dev team, who aren't really a dev team at all, but they still hold a ton of the scam tokens, they're able to go and basically liquidate all of their scam tokens to drain the liquidity pool and run away with all the Bitcoin or Ether that was in it. And it basically makes all of the tokens that everybody else holds worthless because there's nothing backing them anymore. And the developer team just kind of disappears, and the project they were going to build never happens. This happens way too many times in this space. Sometimes the developers will even make it so nobody but themselves can sell any of the tokens. They basically modify the smart contract so only their approved wallet addresses can sell the token, and anybody else just has to watch the ride. This happened recently with the popular Squid Game token. Man, that thing is getting hot. Burning a little brighter than I thought, but yeah, the popular Squid Game token basically piggybacked off the rise of the popular Netflix show, and it wasn't officially related to the show, but it had some themes where they were promising a game where all of the users who held their token, the Squid token, would be able to participate in the game, and the winner would take home a large sum of money. So they were able to drive a lot of hype and get a lot of people to buy into this game. A lot of people bought the token, and they saw it rise from fractions of a penny to over $3,000 at the peak. I'm sure there were a lot of people that were watching it on the ride up, trying to cash out. And then within seconds, the developers pulled everything, and it went basically to zero. Another scam that happened around the same time as the Squid Game scam was the Anubis DAO rug pull, which was also one of the largest rug pulls of the year, taking over $60 million. Anubis DAO basically just capitalized on crypto's love of Doge-themed things and Shiba Inu-themed things, and really was built on nothing. They had no white paper, no website, and the whole thing happened in 24 hours. They launched and rugged and took everything. Rug pulls haven't just targeted token and DeFi investors. As we've seen NFTs boom this year, we've also seen a rise in rug pull scams targeted at NFT investors. NFT project rug pulls typically consist of projects which announce an NFT and an extensive roadmap, such as developing a game or a metaverse and getting a bunch of people to buy their NFTs. Sometimes it's not even an actual good art NFT. It's just like a mint pass or an unrevealed NFT, so they just have a picture of basically nothing. And once they sell all these NFTs, the developers just take the proceeds and run without ever actually developing anything on their roadmap. One of the most high-profile NFT rug pulls this year was the Evolved Apes project. This project was able to somehow get an OpenSea verification before the developer ran off with over $2 million. A lot of people were angry about this, and I kind of get it, because they trusted OpenSea's verification, thinking that they had done at least a little diligence in these projects, and after the developer ran off, I think it kind of shattered a lot of that trust in OpenSea's verification, and it caused OpenSea to sort of really tighten up its guidelines and policies for verifying projects. The project developers promised to build a play-to-earn game where users would be able to battle their NFT characters and win crypto. When the developer drained the project contract, he also took down their Twitter account and website. Evolved Apes at their peak were trading for an average of 0.15 to 0.25 ETH, which at the time was about $700 to $1,000, and now they're trading for 0.01 ETH if you can get anybody to even buy it. So how do we protect our pockets and spot a rug pull? Well, there are a few things that we can do, but first, I want to remind you that there aren't really any guarantees in this space, and there's no guarantee that even following these guidelines, you won't fall victim to one of these scams. And also, as with anything in crypto, I would make sure not to invest anything that you're not willing to see go to zero. Now, what should we look for to increase our chances of staying safe without staying on the sidelines? One of the biggest red flags to me that a project might be a scam is if the entire team is anonymous and nobody's publicly known. While I get that there are definitely some legitimate reasons why you might want to remain anonymous, it's still a red flag to me because it makes it a lot harder to track what happens after a scam. And also, the big thing is it doesn't really put any of the team's reputation on the line. And I think that's a big part of really making sure that someone is an honest, good actor, is by having their reputation on the line. So one of the things that I always like to do to vet new projects is look up the team and Google them and see if you can find anything out about them to see if they're legit. Another sign that a project might be a scam is if it seems to have popped up overnight and is all of a sudden all over social media and seems to be pushed by all the social media influencers. This is especially a red flag because most of the time they're doing this as a paid advertisement, and they're getting paid by the scammer who's paying them with the proceeds that he's making or stealing from his victims with the scam that the influencer is pushing. So it's a pretty vicious cycle right there. But yeah, one of the things that I like to do to sort of protect myself from falling into projects like this is to basically look up as much as I can about the project and make sure that there's a history of the idea of the project. So look at their website, read their white paper, make sure that the white paper actually makes sense and is well thought out. doesn't have a ton of grammatical errors, like it was thrown together super quick. Check their social media accounts and their Twitter. Make sure it wasn't created yesterday. Make sure that there's a history of them like posting about the project for a little while. And really, even further, you could check their GitHub and make sure that there's actually been real development work and code work being done on the project so that you can be a little more assured that you're not just buying into vaporware. A big red flag with token projects is when they don't have any lockup period for investors in their liquidity pool, or when most of the liquidity in their pool comes from one or two different wallet addresses. The reason that lockup periods help is that they basically guarantee that the investors who put up the liquidity initially can't just withdraw it and drain the pool at any time. They're locked in for a certain amount of time for that lockup period. And all of this information we can easily check just by going to basically any reputable decentralized exchange like Uniswap or PancakeSwap, and they'll show you what the liquidity pool looks like, who put up the liquidity, so you can see the percent of how much was put up by each wallet, as well as you can usually see what the lockup period is for the liquidity pool investors. A final thing you might want to look at is a list of the current hodlers for a token or an NFT, and check to see if there are any reputable, well-known wallet addresses that hold it, which might lend it some legitimacy, and also check to make sure it's not only held by like a handful of wallets and nobody is actually holding that project. You can get all of this information on Etherscan or any other block explorer. Now remember, none of this can guarantee that you won't fall victim to a scam in this space. And in reality, most of these scams are still successful due to social manipulation. They use hype and FOMO to cause you to make emotional decisions without thinking rationally. Crypto and Web3 has definitely been a space that has a ton of grift and scams. But there are always going to be bad actors looking to make a buck anywhere where it's easy, and the amount of new money and new users, especially inexperienced users who are easy marks, flooding into this space is what's made it ripe for these scammers. But I think this is a problem that we're largely going to solve in the near future with improved tools and just with users that have more experience. As users get more experience, we'll build better onboarding tools to bring more and more users in, and we'll be able to help prevent those users from falling for the same scams. And I definitely don't think these scams should be something that should prevent you from getting in and playing with Web3. And now that you have some tools to spot rug pulls, hopefully you feel a little more comfortable and willing to dive in and come have some fun. So with that, I'd love it if you'd subscribe and follow me down the rabbit hole. And if you have any questions or any other topics you'd like me to cover, feel free to leave a comment.